Hello everyone, welcome to EduChemy. My name is Deepshikha and I hope every one of you is fine and healthy. So today we will talk about a very important topic, that is polar vortex. We have heard this term in the news and it is in the news not for very good reasons, because polar vortex has been associated with variations in temperatures and weather patterns across the earth, and it has also been related to causing such variations even in India. So let us understand, and I will share the screen with you. We will talk about this polar vortex. What is this thing? Okay, where it is located and how it can impact the weather patterns. So just understand this word. You can see this word. You can just wait a second. All right. So you can just break this word into two. One says polar, or the other is the vortex. See, vortex is something, there is a system and that revolves around an axis. So if you find something that revolves around a certain axis, that is actually a vortex. All right. You have seen such systems. Such systems are there in terms of cyclones. Cyclones tend to revolve around a certain axis. All right. There are also other systems that are present in water. In water, you have seen certain systems which are actually called as whirlpools. So they are present in terms of this kind of motion is there in terms of even water or fluid or even air. The other word is polar. So that has to do something with the poles. All right. So we have certain kind of a system that is present, certain rotating system that is present at the poles of the earth, both north and south poles. So this is one system and this is one system. So you have these systems at the poles. So let us understand it with the proper definition. So the proper definition of polar vortex is called, so it is the large area, so it is the large area of low pressure and cold air. So first thing we have to understand that it we have certain requirements. Okay, one is low pressure and other is the cold air, and it is present at the Earth's north and south poles. So first of all, we will understand this statement. Then we will go to the next one. So how there is a low pressure and cold air? See, generally what we have studied is when the air descends, it is generally the cold air, right? It piles up here and forms a high pressure. And the warm air is something that rises and creates a low pressure. So what we have studied is that cold air is basically associated with high pressure and warm air is associated with low pressure. But what we are talking here is we want a low pressure at with the cold air at the poles. So how is this possible? So this can be understood by this diagram. I think most of you are already aware of this diagram. You see three vertical meridional cells here. So one is the Hadley cell, the other is the ferrule and the polar cell. And this here is the tropopause, or the upper layer or the lid of the troposphere. So this entire is the troposphere. All right. And these are the different cells that are present there. Clear. So now you have to understand this very clearly. Okay. So please focus here. So you have, the condition is you need poles pay, you need a low pressure. So how we will get that? See, this is equator. I'll give you the example of equator and then we will move to the poles. So at equator, the air is rising. So what you have here at the surface, you have a low pressure. But where the air is piling up in the troposphere, in the upper troposphere, the air is piling up and causing a high pressure. See, air is rising and causing, so from where it is rising, from where there is lack of air, it is creating low pressure. But where it is going and piling up, it is creating a high pressure. So here you will find at the upper troposphere, you will find a high pressure at the equator, but at the surface, there will be low pressure. I hope this is understood. Air is rising here. So this is the place of low pressure and this is the place of high pressure because the air is piling up here. इकट्ठी हो रही है air यहाँ पर. Fine. Then just move to the poles. Now the air is descending. Clear? Air यहाँ पर नीचे बैठ रही है. Fine. So if it is descending, it is becoming heavy. So it is piling up on the surface, so creating a high pressure here. So where it is piling up, it is creating a high pressure. Where it is rarefying, All right, it is going away. It is kind of creating a low pressure. So if there is a high pressure here, because the air is piling up here on the surface, so on the above you will find a low pressure. यहाँ पर जो air है कम हो जाएगा, fine, because it has gone down. So I hope you have understood this. And this is the very reason, if some of you, I think, might have known about the upper tropospheric circulations. Also, I think you had heard of terms like jet streams. These are upper tropospheric circulations. These are actually the result of such pressure variations in the upper troposphere. Clear? So that is a type of, upper tropospheric circulation is some other discussion. We will now focus, basically what is the agenda here is to actually know where is the low pressure located on the poles. So it is actually located here in the upper troposphere. You will find this location of the low pressure. And this is that area where you will find the building up of these winds. All right. So they can go up till the stratosphere. So this polar vortex is not present on the surface of the poles. Clear? So जैसे ये poles है, it is not present here. यहाँ पर कोई polar vortex नहीं है. Polar vortex क्या है? It is a kind of a cyclone that is present, right? अब ये जो cyclone है, ये जो vortex है, it is not present on the surface. Where it is present? It is actually present at a height. That height is actually around 7 to 10 kilometers. It is almost going at the level of the जहां पर tropopause है, जहां पर आपका upper troposphere है, so it is circulation is there and it can go up till the stratosphere. So most of the part of this polar vortex is in the stratosphere. So that is why sometimes it is called as stratosphere polar vortex as well. Clear? So ये कहाँ से start हो रहा है? It is starting from that low pressure that is created there, and then it can go up till. Fine. Now the next question is that why it starts to rotate? Well, this has to do something with the rotation. Okay, this is the same diagram that I have actually. So this is where, if you see the poles, all right, so if poles पे यहाँ पर आपका high pressure है, so there is a low pressure here, and this is where the system starts to develop. It develops in the winter क्योंकि there is a more contrast in terms of temperatures. All right, so जितना ज़्यादा contrast होता है उतना ज़्यादा this circulation develops. Contrast in terms of cold and warm. So fine. So this is the circulation that has started in the upper atmosphere, troposphere, and stratosphere. So basically, if you have these layers, okay, this is the troposphere and this is the stratosphere. So what is happening is there is interaction between these layers. We see in this polar vortex कुछ interaction होता है इस area में. Fine. So this polar vortex is actually present where? It is present in the above the Arctic regions. ठीक है? So it is located in the poles. So around Arctic circle जो है उसके ऊपर आपको upper atmosphere में ये circulation, ये एक तरीके का cyclone वहां पर मिलता है. So why it rotates? So this is the second part of our topic, that counterclockwise, why there is a counterclockwise flow. It has to do with the rotation of the earth. All right. So see, this is the earth that is rotating. So earth rotates from west to east. अगर हम earth को from the top देखते हैं, so what do you see is that यहाँ से भी west to east जा रहा है. Fine. So this circulation also tends to move from west to east. तो अगर top से देखते हैं, it looks like anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. So even the cyclones also, अगर northern hemisphere में the cyclones are there, that also means that they are anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere and they are clockwise in the southern hemisphere. So same is with this polar vortex. यहाँ पर भी जो है wind जो है वो ऐसे turn करता है. It is also known by another term, that is Coriolis. Coriolis is nothing but this apparent deflection of the winds. Clear? So this is why it is rotating. So एक rotating circulation है ये above the Arctic region. Fine. So now the other important factor. So this is something that we have understood. Let me change the color. So this is something that we have understood कि यहाँ पर कोई circulation है. Clear? Anti-clockwise. Now, why we need to understand about the polar jet stream? Now, polar jet stream kya hai? Most of you would have read about this. It is a jet stream that is present at the front, at the polar front. Jet stream bhi bola jata hai isko. So this is cold area, this is warm, and this jet stream is present there. So why it is important to our discussion? Ye jet stream is it actually holds the entire ये पूरा का पूरा सिस्टम इट एक्चुअली होल्ड्स इट टुगेदर. ये पोलर वोर्टेक्स भी बहुत अच्छे से डेवलप होगा. वोर्टेक्स बनना मतलब पूरे विंड्स आ रही हैं एंड दे आर सर्कुलेटिंग एंड दे आर प्रॉपरली मैनेज्ड, दे आर लोकेटेड. सो दिस जेट स्ट्रीम, इफ इट इज स्ट्रॉन्ग, इट इज वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग, इट एक्चुअली मेंटेन द सेम टेम्परेचर कंडीशंस. ऑलराइट, सो इफ दीज कंडीशंस आर met, so you have a good development of the polar vortex. So the next question, okay, so this is what we have studied. So this is a stable polar vortex, fine, and this is a strong jet stream. It keeps the vortex within this area. It is contained. Can you see? The cold air is contained, and this is Canada and this is US that you see here, and they are not actually facing the impact of this cold air because वो कहाँ रह रहा है? सिर्फ वहीं पर confined रह रहा है. So if I ask you that strong polar vortex, is it good or bad? Is the formation of a strong polar vortex and a strong jet stream, polar jet stream, is it good or bad? It is good. Fine. Why it is good? Because ये पूरा का पूरा system, strong polar vortex का मतलब ये पूरा system यहाँ पर develop हो गया है and it is not having any problem. Okay, it is developed and it is not having any problem, and this jet stream is like a gateway and it is holding this polar vortex in this Arctic region only, and it is not coming to this area. So जो cold air है ये यहीं रहता है. But what happens is, due to some reasons, क्या होता है कि this weak jet stream can actually become like this. It can meander, and when it starts to meander, this polar vortex breaks off. So it was like a circulation, but when this jet stream actually become weak, this entire circulation collapses like this, and now the entire cold air spreads towards the mid latitudes. It is going even towards the Florida also. ठीक है, तो फ्लोरिडा तक ये कोल्ड एयर का पूरा पूरा मास कैन कम डाउन नाउ. सो a strong jet stream is like a lid. Okay, it's like a gate जो कि पूरे के पूरे कोल्ड एयर के मास को आर्कटिक ओशन के ऊपर ही रखता है. Clear? Now you must think that why this jet stream is getting weak. See, jet stream is developed because the temperature variation. Okay, so जितना ज़्यादा thermal अच्छा variation होता है, the more the contrast is, the more strongly this jet stream is formed. If this contrast is low, there is not perfect contrast of this warm and the cold. So if there is some reason, it can break off, it can come down also. Okay, so high pressure and low pressure, they all play a role in this. So I hope आपको सिर्फ अभी इतना समझना है that a strong jet stream and a stable polar vortex is something that keeps the cold air towards the Arctic. But if it breaks, it will come down to the mid latitudes as well. Clear? So you can also understand it by this diagram. See, this was that jet stream and it was holding this cold air within this region. Now what happened is this jet stream has started meandering and it is going towards the lower latitudes, and now this entire system has, it has collapsed. Warm air aa gaya hai, theek hai, it is warmed and the entire cold air system has collapsed, and it can also be understood by this. So this was the proper polar vortex. ये proper develop हो रहा था, but due to some reason, it has now broken into small vortices, and अब ये जो vortices होंगी, ये they will travel down and towards the mid latitudes. ये पूरी की पूरी cold air है, and see the speeds, they are at very high speeds. So these are higher around, you can compare it, and even more than the cyclones or the hurricanes that are present. So this is how it can break off. So what did you understand? ये cold air का कोई pack था, it can come down to lower latitudes, because यहाँ पर जो lid था of that polar jet stream, it has broken. All right, so there is polar vortex is an area of low pressure and extremely cold air, right? Disturbance in the jet stream, intrusion of warmer air can disturb the polar vortex, sending Arctic air south in the mid latitudes. Masses of extremely cold air have plunged toward the interior of North America, and a lot of people are impacted. So see the temperatures, it can fall up to -40 and even -50, -60. ये पूरा का पूरा cold mass यहाँ पर पहुंच गया है. All right, so this can actually make the place uninhabitable. So यहाँ पर inhabit करना, survive करना can be a big problem. So this is something that happened in 2014, and it also took place in 2019 as well. So this is the Lake Michigan. So this entire region, the Midwest region of USA, was impacted by this entire cold wave that actually set in on this area. So can you see freezing temperatures? बहुत जल्दी fall हो जाता है. All right. So the question next is climate change the reason? See, many scientists are still studying the possible impacts, but अभी कुछ हम नहीं कह सकते हैं that it is because of the climate change. But we have seen that global warming has resulted into melting of the glaciers in Arctic. And if the glaciers melt, if the ice starts to melt, there is low albedo, that is more of the radiation now is observed rather than being reflected, which will in turn warm the Arctic even further. और अगर Arctic further warm होता है, then it will definitely surely will impact entire weather systems. Okay, जो भी वहाँ पर systems develop होते हैं, the strong polar vortex, these all will be impacted. Impact on India. See, impact is on India is that India is situated in the much lower latitude, subtropics, tropics. So itna impact nahi hai, but still we know that western disturbances are something that impact India. So that is what we know about India as well. So if there is less ice in the Arctic, we can understand. If there is less ice in the Arctic, the polar vortex, instead of concentrating in the Arctic, kya hoga? Will wobble and come up to the mid latitude. If it comes to the mid latitude, then it will affect the weather in India. We could see a rise in intensity and frequency of the western disturbances. Western disturbances are the winter rains that we get in the northern hemisphere, or in the in the North India during the winters. All right. So this is something that can happen. The intensity and the frequency of the rainfall in the winter can change. So this is something that is said by they are scientists. So I hope you have understood that what a polar vortex is. It is a very complex system. I think I've tried to put it in the most simplest term is, I can again explain it, that there is a system of very cold air, and that it is actually kept there by the polar jet stream. If the jet stream gets weak, the system gets weak, the entire cold air mass, that entire vortex can come down towards the mid latitudes, and it can spread in the entire regions, causing a very sharp decline in the temperatures of the USA, of Europe, of Russia. All these areas will be impacted by this. So I hope you understood this. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot for watching.